So here we are. Not quite sure where to start. This idea came to me quite some time ago and really wasn't sure where I wanted to go with it, what my purpose was. And, I believe that in the world of podcasting, you've got a million choices of what you want to listen to and, what opinion you want to observe and digest. So, in this case, it's just a podcast about me, about my experience. A 44-year-old Portuguese man, been around the block, a couple of different career choices, a lot of experiences, and just this is a platform for me to share those experiences with you and hopefully get your feedback and your input. And I would love for this show to grow and become something great beyond what we're listening to now. You can't turn on an FM station without listening to some hokey foolishness about these setup skits where people are having roses delivered and or winning free roses and somehow giving them away to a mistress or a secret lover and being exposed on the radio. So we're not about that. We're really going to talk about the things that matter to us, to me. Is this a little selfish? Probably. Because, again, not really having a platform to express myself and tell people the way you really feel. Career choices in your life put you in a managerial position, and you're not really at liberty to speak the freedom of what you'd like to say or want to express. So, with that said, welcome to the inaugural podcast of the Bobby Couto Show. So, recently, anyone who lives in Boston area or is a Boston fan, you probably listening to 98.5, The Hub, or 93.7 WEEI radio. And recently, maybe not recently, probably about 6 months ago, there was some controversy with Kirk Minahan, Jerry Callahan, and the show, and number one show in Boston, across the globe, people listening everywhere, very successful. Kirk Minahan is very exclusive. If you had to put somebody up there, you talk about guys like Howard Stern, and I think Minahan is, right up there and having the ability to reach his audience and stimulate, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. I think one of the most famous lines from the Howard Stern movie was the scene where they're reading the ratings and they poll the people in the streets and say, hey, do you listen to Howard Stern? And people say, no. Well, they say, actually, let me correct that. They say, why do you listen to Howard Stern? And people say, the common answer was, I want to hear what he's going to say next. So whether you liked him or you didn't like him or you appreciated what he had to offer on the radio, it still stimulated that subscription and that commitment for people to dial in and to hear what he was going to say next. And, the controversy and pushing that envelope and maybe asking questions that not most are asking and, calling out public figures that may not be what they perceive to be. So that was a really, really popular time in radio. I think probably Howard's paramount timeline of his career, where he was doing the movie, he had a story to tell, and I personally, between all of us here, I really believe that he was true to what he was doing. It was his show. It was organic. It was stimulating. It was funny. He had his whack packers, and even these people who probably wouldn't have any opportunity in life were now on the radio. They were semi-celebrities. They were going to shows and traveling, and in reality, most of these people would probably be doing nothing. Probably getting a government check and eating some government cheese. Rather, Howard Stern brings these people on and gives them an opportunity he really makes characters out of them, and shares that with the people. Again, you can look at it from both ends. Some people say that he might have been taking advantage of those people. I look at it differently and say, he gave them a purpose. So that's really the way that I believe he became extremely successful in driving that controversy from both ends. Now, the Howard Stern of today, is not the same platform that it was, let's say, 20 years ago. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rosie O'Donnell was probably his arch nemesis. I think he probably disliked her the most. I mean, I know that from what I listened to, the days of the Opie and Anthony, he really despised her. So I guess recently, not that I listened to the show, I know he's on XM Sirius Radio, not that I listen or subscribe, but from what I understand, recently he had her on the show, and it was one of these hokey, late night interviews where pretty much all the questions were pretty preset and filtered, and Howard was kissing her ass. So I guess when you get to a certain age and that's your audience, you're really going to cater to that audience, because I really don't believe anybody gives a shit about what an ornery old man has to say at this point. So, and that's pretty much how I feel, and got into this, which actually leads us to where I was going, and that is the creation or the idea of a podcast. So, to get back to WEEI, Kirk Minahan had left the show and then started a podcast, Enough About Me. And he did that with Jerry, and I think there's like maybe 6 episodes. You can search and subscribe for it. And they were pretty good. And actually, what got my attention about it was the language. It really was different to hear. And again, you get the subscription with Howard Stern, but nonetheless, the language was different. Hearing someone say "fuck" on the radio, it took a second. It really wasn't something I was used to hearing. So, it really it triggered something with me and said, hey, wait a minute. Here's a platform that, maybe we have an ability, not only one to access, but to really express yourself and say the things that you want to say without filter. I mean, really looking at the ability to free speech and expression. So that's really what brought me to this point now. And, sitting here and recording an episode and sharing this information with you and hoping that you can absorb it and want more, because, moving forward, I really want to get into day one. Let's start from the beginning and just tell you some of my life experiences and some of the things that I've experienced in my life that probably most wouldn't believe nor have ever seen. I've met and continue to have relationships with some amazing people that I really appreciate speaking to daily. And ranging from an 18-year-old kid that I see every day on my way out of my office to a 72-year-old Vietnam vet who inspires me every day. So these are the people that are in my life. My fantastic family. I've got a beautiful wife, son and daughter, granddaughter, and even all this conversation is just, I'm hoping to stimulate and really share my experiences. And the nerving part of all this is the idea that if this is going to work, you really need to be honest. You need to be upfront. You need to say how you feel. And sometimes you might hurt someone's feelings, and sometimes you may have to say things that people might not want to hear. But at the end of the day, really the truth and reality is that I think staying true and honest and always telling my perspective of what I see and how I feel. And again, and there's always, I'm one of the believer that there's always 2 sides to every story, and somewhere the truth lies in the middle. So that's really kind of going to be the basis for what we're going to be doing here moving forward. And I'm fortunate enough that I can work with my son, AJ, who'll be doing a lot of the social media and the production end of the podcast. I'm hoping to bring the wife in and maybe get a female perspective. And, her and I really have a lot of really great conversation. We talk about things that are controversial. We're not afraid to share our opinions with each other. We've been together for well over 20 years. So being able to speak freely and really expressing one's opinion and just saying something without the fear of being judged is important, and I think I'd like to do that here, and I'd like to share that with you and wherever you may be or wherever you may be listening, and just to kind of give you an idea of, what, this is middle America. This is blue collar people that work and get a paycheck week to week and really have just challenges in life. You take these moments, even though short or long, you take these experiences and you try to learn from them and make the next ones a little better. And I'm hoping that maybe I can inspire you. I can inspire something in your life that you might have been, waiting or hesitating or procrastinating. And just saying, hey, you know what? Let me try this. Let me do something. For me, this is hopefully therapeutic. I won't lie. I am a little nervous today, and this kind of is an impromptu. I've been sitting at this desk, 5, 6, 7, 8, who knows, 10 times, and just never hit the record button. So today that was that day, and this is what I'm going to share with you. So really want to get into like the process of getting here, like I mentioned earlier, and some of the challenges. This really isn't easy. It's not an easy process. I think one who wants to get into the podcasting arena has to realize that it really is a huge commitment, not only to set up the social media end of this. You're talking Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the really mainstream social media platforms, because reality is that there are millions of these podcasts out there, and how do you get people to listen to what you have to say, and to be quite honest with you, to give a shit what you're saying, because again, any idiot can get behind a microphone and say things and express an opinion that is quite honestly, for the lack of a better word, bullshit. Or you can have somebody that comes on here and maybe has a good tone and can get you home on your way home from a hard day's work, or if you just cutting the grass and you need to hear something that you might want to laugh about, or realize that, hey man, you're not alone. We're all in this together, and I think the majority of the people that I know and share my time with struggle. We all struggle. Finances are tough. I mean, you're going through an economy that really is in a growth stage, but still not a strong and steady economy. There are still people out there that are struggling, and there are people out there that still owe tax money and have to pay penalties, and all of that's still going on out there. And granted that there are more people that are working and not using the government for a source of income, it still, I think, takes time to get people to or the economy to get people to get in sync, and for all of that to catch up. The wife and I have been traveling a little bit more recently than we have in the past. Why? I think, again, as you get older, I think your finances and your personal life start to settle. I think things start to settle at the bottom, and you start to get the better rates on mortgages, and you're paying things consistently, so the banks are looking, and then you're getting the offers for the lower interest rates. So again, you take chances and you try to always look to find the cheaper cell phone plan, because today $15 is $15. Most of us will spend let's just say $25 a week at the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. Because why? Because we want a coffee in the morning and we want a coffee at night. And Dunkin' Donuts has a brilliant product. They sell you dirty water at $3 a cup. So, hey, I'm with you guys. I'm in line as well. And I'm buying the coffee and I'm buying the munchkins. And it's pretty much a ritual for us on a weekly basis. But we're there. We're doing it. So, again, that $15 that I'm not paying my cell phone company is a cup of coffee for me, Anyway, not to get too off track, I just really wanted to just get something off the ground, get some audio in place, and really just getting a launch pad for the podcast, and really just reach out to everyone and say I thank you for I mean, if you're in 15 minutes, I mean, I'm hoping that I can get you for the duration of the longevity of this podcast, because I really believe that at one point or another you'll agree or you'll disagree, and you'll find something that stimulates you, and you'll want to engage. I invite everyone to use the Twitter, tweet us, let us know what you think. Tell us what you want to talk about. Tell us what you'd like to hear. If there's something you want to know, or something that maybe you'd like to hear, I'd be more than happy to accommodate and really make the show about us in general. Again, like I said, we will be having different genres and different individuals coming in to sit down and talk, maybe get some stories going. But ultimately, I really want this to be lighthearted. I actually have the podcast categorized as a comedy because, quite honestly, I think this ride we're on is quite funny. And I think if you take yourself too seriously and you don't stop for a minute and laugh and realize that it really is just a moment in time, and it will pass. So just like the good comes, and it seems like it doesn't last very long, and the bad comes and it seems like it takes forever. But somehow here we are. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm 44 years old. I was born in the great city of Fall River, Massachusetts, where I lived over in a 3-family house that we bought because why? We were Portuguese, and that was the Portuguese thing to do. We bought a 3-family, and of course everybody kicks in, uncles, cousins, and we everybody's a carpenter, everybody's a plumber. Again, no permits. We're talking, this is well over 20 years ago, and rebuilding these houses, and the whole family moves in. So it was real fortunate to spend a lot of time with my dad's side of the family, really my Uncle Gilly, my aunts, and my cousin Brian and Jason and Derek. We lived on the first floor. They lived on the second floor. We were always together. It was not the largest yard in the world, but we had a place for a grill. So we would grill every weekend, and and it was a really great time in my life. We were young, and our parents were young, and it was the 70s coming out of the, like into the 80s, and, people had money, and it really wasn't that bad. Again, we would struggle. It was never like we were rich and we were going on world vacations, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't fly in an airplane until, I was, I believe, 22 years old, where I went on my first trip to Cancun, Mexico, with 5 friends that we planned, and for $800 a head, spent 7 days in what was Cancun, Mexico. We're talking 1998, and if any of you have been there recently, I would imagine that the Cancun of 1998 is nothing like the Cancun of 2019. So, with that said, we're talking, this is pre 9/11. And landing in an airplane, in an airport where there was no cartway. So they actually brought the stairs to the plane. I believe the airplane we flew in was, don't correct me, I'm almost certain it was Suncoast. And they wheeled, I remember them wheeling the stairs up to the airplane, and we grabbed our carry-ons, and we made it to the door, and we walked down the stairs, and then we get to the bottom of the stairs, and there's this gentleman sitting there with a full cooler of glass bottled Coronas. So we're on the runway of an airport, and this guy's selling glass bottled Coronas. So long story short, it was 5 of us. We all kicked in and bought the whole cooler. It was funny getting it through the airport, but I will tell you that was the beginning of a great 7 days in a tropical climate. And it just so happened to be the Argentinian spring break. So we had a great time. It was a lot of people, a lot of great energy. And, I've always say that I'd love to go back. And you know what, even to share that with my wife today, I think we'd have a really great time. But again, I am a little concerned that it is a little different than it was back then. But I would imagine, things get better with time. More people are showing up. More people are spending money. So the hotels get better. The restaurants get better. And you hope the security gets better as well. But again, I guess, I don't know if it's me, if it's everyone. You could tweet at us and let us know what you think. But I mean, is anybody traveling to Mexico right now? I mean, it's such I don't know. Not that I wouldn't travel to Mexico, but I guess, I don't know, an American, and is there a chance that I might, I don't know. Again, if somebody knows, like, is it better? Is it worse since we started building a wall? Are people going to Mexico, and are they spending their money in Cancun? I mean, I know the Dominican is hurting. I mean, they're going through that whole process of figuring out why people are just dying. Actually, the wife and I, true story, the wife and I had a trip planned to go. We actually lost our security deposit because, you know what, quite honestly, I don't want to die in a Dominican. You know what I mean? Not to mention maybe get shot. You get David Ortiz shot in the back, people dying all over the place. I'm like, hey, listen, let's not go to Dominican. We ended up in New Hampshire, which was nice. New Hampshire was nice. Granted, it wasn't tropical, and, there were no umbrella drinks. At least we knew that we were going to make it home. So that's just a little bit about that. I mean, and then just, again, there's plenty of stories to come along with some of that. This is kind of really just giving you guys an idea of where I've been. There was a good portion of my life where I was doing, you know what, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. My dad left when I was 12. He won the lottery. Not much. I think it was about $20,000. And somehow back then he thought maybe he had won $1 million. So long story short, took money, ran, was gone, left myself, my brother, my mom in a 3-family house. As a matter of fact, the one I mentioned earlier, the one that we built when we came here. So, we lived on Home Street, and, my mom was an inspiration to me working. I mean, she constantly worked 2 jobs. I never remember her not working 2 jobs. But, even myself, I was in school, was actually going to Morton Middle, where I met my wife, and there was a program called CETA. And what it was is that during the summertime, rather than, leaving these kids just walking around the city, today you go into the city and these kids have skate parks and there's places to go and there's things to do. Back then we had nothing. There was no skate parks, and if you went to the park, you were lucky you weren't going to get a tetanus because the swing was broken and there was metal pipes sticking out of the ground. It just it was different then. It wasn't the liability that it is today. So you go back then and you think that it'd be a great place to grow up, but nonetheless it was a good place to, and it was safe to drink the water too. I drank the bubbler water. I did. Anyway, not to get too off track. So I signed up for CETA. I believe I was like 13, and you had to be, I think, like 13 and a half, one of those stupid half things. But long story short, they ended up reaching out to me, and I applied for a couple of different options. And, I remember my neighbor Jen Correa, who's still a good friend. She ended up going first. She was older than I was, about a year older than I was, and I think she had cleanup duty. And what they would do is they would load all these kids up in a bus, and they would drive them to like a location, like a park, or most likely a park. It really wouldn't be on I don't want to say the side of the road, because that's what they do with the convicts. This was more kind of secure, but they'd bring them to a park and they'd give these kids a stick with a nail at the end of it, and they would walk around the whole park and they would pick up trash. That's what they did. I mean, not that was appealing to me, but the idea of making money and having a job and earning some money was appealing to me. So I did. I signed up, and by the sheer luck of God, I ended up getting handicap recreation. So I wasn't quite sure what it was, and then I ended up having an interview, went in, and guys, we're talking well over almost 30 years ago. So My memory's a little dusty, but I do remember interviewing and the woman saying to me, "Oh, you're going to be a great fit. You're going to be a great fit." And I'm like, "Okay," like I'm excited, young kid, and it was really what I think it was a life changing part of my life. I think it was, as a kid, you grow up and you know what, guys. My mom's Portuguese, and she might not have all the best manners in the world, but she does have the best intentions. She would never hurt or harm anyone. But we always kind of taught, like, if somebody was in a wheelchair or somebody was hurt or was, you didn't look, you know what I mean? You almost you don't want to look. You don't want to make them feel like you were staring. But in reality, these are just normal people. Like, if I would look at you, if I was walking down in the aisle of the grocery store and I would look at you, it shouldn't matter if you're in a wheelchair or if you're in a walker or, I mean, other than riding a pony, I shouldn't look at you any different than I would anyone else. So, when I joined that program, it really just kind of opened that up for me, where I realized, what, it doesn't matter if they're in a wheelchair. It doesn't matter if they have these mental, issues. They're still people with emotions, and they understand. And granted, maybe that level of understanding with people may be a little different. They still really are just like us. And that program was fantastic for me because every day I would get up, get dressed, and really had input and impact with these people that or these kids. They really were kids, and they really were. It was almost like a camp for them. So to have that one-on-one interaction with kids 13, 14 years old who really were good kids and were trying to do the right thing. Don't get me wrong. There were a couple of people in that program that I not to mention names, like guys like Shaw and Oliver. Again, if I saw him in the street, I'd probably give him a hug. But I don't know that he was in it for the same reasons that I was. But, then again, we probably went in with the same intention of, hey, listen, we're going to go work, get a paycheck. And, on Friday, we're going to go, eat potato chips and drink Coca-Cola. So, that's really, some of those guys, that's why they were there. For me, it was different. And, and I remember that, for whatever reason, I don't forget her name. Her name was Tiffany. And she was in a wheelchair. And even vocally, she really wasn't very vocal. It was, you kind of really had to pay attention to what she was saying. And the more time I spent with her, the more I got to know her. And she was great. She was a wonderful person. And I was, again, a 13, 14-year-old kid. And I remember that Batman, the first Batman had come out, and it was, with Jack Nicholson, and his name escapes me there. I'll think of it after, but it was that first Batman, and then hook, line, and sinker. You know what I mean? I had the hat, I had the shirts, and the nickname kind of caught on. And that summer, I was known as Batman, and then everybody referred to me as Batman, including her. And it was funny. We went to the movies, we hung out, and it almost kind of like maybe she had a crush. And I really, not that I would encourage it, but I wouldn't discourage it either. It was kind of, for me, it was a great friendship, and I felt like I enjoyed her company, and I felt like I was just, not that I was, I don't hate to, don't get me wrong. It wasn't, I didn't want to seem like I was doing her a favor, or it was a matter of like something selfish, but I just felt like I was doing something good. I felt like it felt good to me. She had great energy, and I knew she liked me, and I liked her. And although that we weren't gonna have a romantic relationship, I didn't think we couldn't be friends, and we couldn't enjoy each other's company and go to the movies and hold hands, and maybe give her something that she maybe never might have had. You know what I mean? So. I don't know where she is today, but I hope that she's doing great, and life has been good to her, because she was a great person. And again, for me, it was one of those moments that shaped, I think, the direction of my life, and realizing that it doesn't matter what you are, really. And I hate to quote other people's comments, but it resonates with me when I say, to me, it doesn't matter if you're handicapped or not handicapped, or if you're what religion or what race, and and I hear this all the time that people say it, but do you really mean it? Like, to me, it doesn't matter what you are. For me, if I had a measure, it's the guy that or woman who's going to pick up a shovel. If I pick up a shovel and you pick up a shovel, we're on the same team. Let's do this. You know what I mean? But if that's not the case, then it could be a problem. So, and I say problem only in the sense that listen, you don't have my attention. That's really what that comes down to. I really talking about someone who's going to give what I'm willing to give, and and I'm okay with you taking, as long as I can take a little too. So it's fair across the road. But just again, getting back to that time in my life, it really just I think it opened up the borders for me. I didn't feel like it wasn't okay to look at somebody or say something to someone or talk to someone. And that job that summer was so great. We would go down to the Heritage State Park and we would spend the day down by the water, and there would be games with balls and whatever. We'd kick ball or whatever. The ones that could play would play. We'd go for a walk along the pier, and again, it was always a great day. But sometimes, back in the time, it was Chuck E. Cheese, and it was in Fall River. And I remember the general manager was Bill Damaris, and I think he has since passed away. But at the time, we were going. Say what you want. The guy. There was some sketchy stuff going on. Whether it was whatever. I don't even want to speculate, because my impression of the guy was he gave, and what he gave was he offered the Chuck E. Cheese space to the program. So, what we would do once a week is we would go to Chuck E. Cheese and we would spend the day, and it would be pretty much whatever they wanted. It'd be endless tokens and pizza and soda for the whole group. So these kids got to spend the whole day there, and there were like carnival games, and so there was something really for everybody. And he would donate that, and that was he didn't expect anything back from it. He donated it, and it was a great thing that he was doing. So long story short, brings me into my next career, and that was really the launching point for me, where Bill came to me one day and said, "Hey, I could use a guy in the Chucky costume." And I said, okay. He's like, and I'd like to hire you. I was 14 at the time. He's like, you're going to have to get the work permit. He goes, and you get the work permit, and then I went down. I had my mom drive me down to City Hall, and I filled out the paperwork, and I got my work permit, and I went back to Bill, and like, I'm here, Bill. I'm ready to go. And, he gave me the opportunity, and I tell you, and I would jump in that suit. It's stinky, and it was terrible. It was disgusting. It was dirty in there, and who knows how many people before me were in there sneezing and sweating. But I would put that suit on, and I would go out there, and I would give it my all. And I enjoyed it. The kids would light up. You always had the one or two that would pull the tail. You did the old kickback heel, swing around, oops, didn't see ya, and then pick them up off the ground like a hero. But for the most part, kids were good, and I'd run out there and I'd do the Chucky parade, and we'd all sing and happy birthday, and did that for a while. And next thing you know, Bill's like, "Hey man, I could use you as a host doing birthday parties." And again, guys, I only mention this stuff because I say to yourself, it's never too young to start your career, because the experiences I believe that I learned at that age. Think about it, being in the workforce for 3/4 of my life. Really, you should see my Social Security statement. It's ridiculous. I'm going to be rich, but yeah, right. Really, that was the start of my career. That's where things kind of got off the ground. And Bill said, "Hey, listen, I need a guy to do the hosting parties." And I said, "Okay, of course." I did it. And then with that was the responsibility of the waiting the tables, bringing the pizza out, the kid's birthday party. And that's just really an animal of its own. You know what I mean? Really, just being a host at a kid's birthday party. And really, it's not just mom, it's the sister, it's dad, it's the uncles. These people show up with like 6 kids and 13 adults. You know what I mean? So now it's more adults than it is kids, and everybody's eating pizza, and they want more pizza, and they want more tokens, and and again, you got 3 or 4 parties, and you do the math. So The tips were good, and sometimes, you'd get the asshole that wouldn't give you the tip, or, you had the woman that you couldn't please, and, you had the woman that was determined that she wasn't going to pay for the party because she wasn't happy with something, Chucky looked at her the wrong way. I don't know, but it happened, and we'd get through it. But long story short, from that point, I was shortly promoted into... I was a video arcade technician, right? Go figure. These are the days of the arcades, the days before the Xboxes and the high-end PlayStations. And, if you wanted to play some new video games, you didn't do it at home. You'd go to the arcade and you'd put $20 into the quarter machine, and you'd spend the whole time playing Mortal Kombat or, one of these, popular games that just everybody had to play. So I was fortunate enough. I was at the ground floor of that. I believe the company was called Beck Games. It was Steve Beck. He was the owner. And I remember at that point I was doing it, working great hours. God bless my mom. She was driving me back and forth. I mean, I wasn't old enough to have my license yet. And she'd take my paycheck. She'd take the whole thing. And I'd be so mad about it. You're taking my paycheck. You're taking my paycheck. Well, she deposited every single one of them. And once I was old enough and had my license, she gave me the bank book, and I had more than enough money to buy my first car. So again, so young, so stupid, arrogant, and she never broke. It could have been easily. She could have easily handed me that bank book at any time, at any moment. Because I'll be honest with you guys, when you work and you're that young and you're stupid and you want to buy things that really don't matter. Easily you blow all your money. You're working all week and you got nothing left. But she managed to manage that money, and she was giving me, she'd give me $5 when she dropped me off and say, hey, there's your lunch money. And honestly, between us guys, I was eating Chuck E. Cheese pizza and whatever else was on the menu, and I didn't have to spend the $5, so I'd pocket the $5, and a couple of days later I'd have a couple of dollars to go out with my friends and have a great time. Which brings me to my other point. Having that job really introduced me to some wonderful people. People that I even to this day I think about and miss. There's Anthony Medeiros, Mark, and Mike. I know Mike is a former police officer now. They're just good people, and really knowing them when they were young, and we were driving around and doing stupid shit, and we were smoking pot and listening to Pink Floyd, and driving up to Cherry Hill, shooting bottle rockets out the window, again doing these things that today they'd probably put you in jail for, but back then we weren't hurting anybody. We were just having a good time, sharing some moments together and laughing. But all in all, they were a little older than I was. It just seemed that in my life I've always been with older people that whether it be a year, 2, 3 years older than me, that I even my music, the type of music that I was listening to wasn't what everyone else was listening to. I was listening to things that might have been a little older. You know what I mean? So I went through the stages of the rockster, funkster, did all that. Vanilla Ice, I was there. It was really just kind of figure out where I fit in best. And I look back on those days now, and I really never tried to fit in. I think I just kind of just fell in. I always felt comfortable in my skin, and I always felt that I could offer some type of conversation, whether you agreed with it or not. I felt like I got along with people. And hey, listen, I'm not saying that I'm everybody's cup of tea, because I'm sure there are people out there that don't really give a shit about Bobby Couto or what he's got to say or who he is at this point. But I'd like to think the majority of people that I've come in contact with and shared my life with think better of me. Just that brief moment there in life when I was 14 working at Chuck E. Cheese just enlightened me in many, many ways. I made mistakes. I did things, there were things that I did back then that I'm not proud of. Even to a point where I should have taken, I tried to take responsibility for something that was really bad. And the person didn't allow me to take that responsibility. And then the true fact was I should have ate it. It was mine. And I'll always regret that. And there is someone out there that I hurt, and it bothers me because she's a good person. And at the time, and even now, she didn't deserve that to happen to her. But again, these things happen, and you always have regrets in life, and by all means, guys, the situation that I'm talking about is completely just a work related, monetary kind of punch in, punch out kind of situation. Nothing else other than that. But long and short of it, she lost her job, and it probably should have been me. But that, again, years and years ago, and maybe we can tell that story at one point, if you guys remember, somewhere down the line. And who knows, maybe if we can find her, we'll get her on here and get her side of the story. But up until then, we'll put that one on the back burner. But again, just kind of getting back to that. That was a great experience in my life. Washed dishes, cleaned floors, did a little bit of everything. And it really, I think, prepared me for my life, my future, and just, I guess owning the responsibility that I had to contribute. It was just, it was my mom, it was me, it was my brother at the time. And although my brother's 6 years older than me, so let's do the math. I was 12 when my dad left, which made him 18. So it was kind of rough for him. Him and my dad were real close. So when it happened, I think it was kind of like of a shock thing. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember coming home and knowing that he was leaving. He was I'm out. I'm gone. And for reasons maybe we'll talk about it another time. I felt almost a relief. I felt like, hey, this may be a great 12-year-old kid. This may be a great opportunity for us, not living in this chaos on a daily basis of alcoholism and abuse and just an unsettled, dark energy. It was one of these moments. Today it's a different world, guys. We don't live in a bad space today. If you feel uncomfortable, you walk out the door. If you don't like what someone's saying to you, you call a lawyer, you get a divorce, you're out. It's that easy. Back then it wasn't. Back then there were morals, and there were things that people just didn't do. People just didn't get divorced. People, it was one of these things that you were embarrassed about. And I remember my mom and how important it was to her to get an annulment, and she did, and she went down and she went through the process. And granted, today, guys, I'm not a wholeheartedly Catholic guy, but I do respect the religion. So she went down and she talked to the priest, I should say, and explained her situation. And of course, you got to jump through hoops, and you need a couple of witnesses, you need a couple of this, you need a couple of that. So ultimately, she did provide enough information and proof of the terrible marriage. It was a terrible marriage. The only great things that came out of that marriage were my brother and I. Other than that, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. So she did get that annulment. So for her, it was very, very important. It meant the world to her. It was almost just that redemption of, hey, look, you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. I suffered for many years to keep this family together, and ultimately, it just one person just being an asshole and not really contributing or giving anything. Just enough is enough, and you walk away from that. So. That being said, she really inspired me. So, again, I remember telling my brother, I remember telling him, because my old man, he wouldn't let me drive, he wouldn't let me have my bike. And I remember he made me take the back wheel off it and park it under, that's another story. Park it under the porch. And I pulled it out, and I was in the side of the yard, like there was a little concrete space where I could work. And I was assembling the bike. I was putting the tire on the bike. And my brother comes home, and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, I'm putting my bike. I'm like, Dad's gone. I'm putting my bike together. and he looked at me. He's like, "Fuck you." He's like, "Dad's coming back. Put that shit away. Cut that shit out. We're going to straighten this all out." And again, like I mentioned earlier, him and my brother were very close. They were like drinking buddies. You know what I mean? I remember nights laying in bed and the two of them be sitting there having conversations that were very inappropriate. And you know what? We might get into some detail about that, but just not today, because you know what? This is the inaugural, and I want it to be a little upbeat. I don't want it to be about the negative in my life, because all the negative in my life has brought me so much positive, really just humbled me. It made me realize that, again, in a moment you can lose it. So I strive every day to meet the challenges that I'm faced with, and hope that I can provide and be what I need to be for everyone. So I don't know. I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you, and give you a little bit of background on where it was. And you know what, right now I'll tell you that those times were great times, and I learned a lot from those people. And you know, again, we're timeline wise, I'm right around 14 years old, and 12 to 14, and you know, meeting these people, the Anthony Medeiros of the world, if you're out there. You know, you guys really shaped a big part of my life. You know, I have an uncle, my Uncle Brian, by marriage, who was instrumental. To be honest with you, smoked my first joint with him. We were fishing. I was probably about 15 years old. Really just, you know, again, struggling with, you know, just life in general, knowing that your dad's not around anymore, and you're kind of doing this on your own. And, you know, you see your mom working 2 jobs, and, you know, he stepped up. He did. He'd come pick me up at 3:00 in the morning, take me fishing. We'd fish on his boat all day long, and you know, somehow he'd always find the hot spot, man. And we would fish, and we would always have a good time, and we'd have great conversation. And you know, I always thought of him as a brilliant man. He's smart. He's been around, experienced a lot, and I've always appreciated his opinion. So. Again, Brian Fraser, I'd like to throw it out to you, man. You really helped shape a young man's mind. You know, again, especially when he was alone. You know, my brother was working. He was kind of doing his own thing. You know, at that age, he had met his wife, who he's married to today, and again, relationships are relationships. So we spent a lot of time with her, and really it wasn't us. You know, although we did spend a lot of time together. When I was younger, when he got his license, you know, I remember Pat, and we'd get in. My brother had a Caprice Classic. You know what? I couldn't even tell you. Maybe it could have been an 1987 Caprice Classic. It was brown. I remember the gas gauge would bounce. You know, of course, you know, nobody has money, and anytime we'd go for a ride, I'd always look at the gas gauge, and the thing would be bouncing, so you never knew how much gas you were going to have. But we would hop in that thing, man, and it didn't matter the weather. And off to Newport, you know, we'd go to Newport, spend the day in Newport, walk around, just kind of drive around. And you know, Pat ended up buying a Lincoln Town Car, and we'd go to the car wash, and we'd spend the day at the car wash. And again, nothing crazy, guys, but you know, always fun stuff. And you know, I felt like, you know, I was a part of something. They were good people. We'd laugh, we'd talk, and you know, again, it was fun. It was shaping, and that's really the reason and point I'm even bringing it up. You know, so you know, I don't want to go too far and too into this today. I just really wanted to introduce myself to everybody, and let you know what this was going to be about, and you know, what direction I want to go with this. You know, if I had to put a finer point on what I'm saying is, you know, maybe we're talking somewhere along some memoirs of my life, some stories, some stuff that you're going to believe, some stuff that you're going to say that's not possible. But I promise you that I will only speak in truth. I'll never exaggerate it. I'll tell you exactly how it is. And there are some really amazing stories, and good and bad, that I can't wait to share with you. So to all the people out there right now that know me, know Bobby Couto, and know who I am, and you know, I had the opportunity of sharing time with at some point in my life. You know, I'm active on Instagram, I'm active on Twitter, and I never had a Facebook before, and now the show has a Facebook. So I encourage everyone, go over to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Twitter. Please give us a follow. Please subscribe to the podcast. I would love to continue talking to everyone. I would love to just keep telling you guys stories, keep telling you guys about me, about my life, about some different opinions, to bring in some really great talent. When I think about some of the great people that I've had the opportunity to have conversations with, and really the dynamics of everything. I want to talk about it all. I wish that I could select every category in the podcast category, because that would be a better representation of what this show is going to be about. It's really going to be about everything. It's really going to be about you. It's going to be about me. It's going to be about the people that I'm around, and just really hoping to inspire people to say, hey, listen, you don't have to sit there and not say anything. There is a platform. I think podcasting, to me, is fulfilling a lifelong dream. I've always, it's funny, I was telling Rachel the other day, my wife, that, I've always had that like kind of secret career, ambition, dream to be a radio DJ. I mean, does that mean hey, welcome to 92 Pro Fame? Not that kind of, but more what we're doing here. And I just never knew how to get here. I know that there was one opportunity that was presented to me to go to like an AM station, and I couldn't even remember his name, but I sat down with a radio personality who was an AM personality. You know what? This guy might still be on the radio. I'm not even sure, but I met him at Chuck E. Cheese, and he wanted me to sell his show, and with a commission base. So sell the show, you get a commission, you make a little bit of money, and I tell you, at first he had me, and then we sat down and really started talking about it, and I realized, listen, I thought I was going to be on the show, man. I don't want to be selling. I don't want to be going door to door, knocking on, the gas station or Jiffy Lube and saying, hey, listen, you want to buy, a commercials, 15 seconds for, Joe Schmo's radio show, and this is the ratings. And I didn't want to do that. I was hoping to get a seat and a microphone and having a platform of maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe this is something for me that I could start and maybe get a target audience. And but you look at radio, and that's really what you're doing. When you look at the radio stations, and of course they got all their ratings. You looking at this stuff, and it's so demographical. So 18 to 25, 25 to 35, and 40 to 50. You know what? I want to talk to everybody. If you're 12 years old, listen, I was there. If you're 10 years old, I was there. If you're 40 years old, I was there. If you're 21, I was there. And I've got so much experience to share with you that I can't wait. I can't wait to even get there. So, again, this is number one. This will be the beginning. I'm hoping that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm looking back at episode 1. Hey, you know what? Better yet, how about this? How about episode 100? Let's talk about episode 100. And getting to episode 100 and celebrating, our 100th episode. You know what I mean? So join me, guys. The Bobby Couto Show, thebobbycoutoshow.com. Go in there. Please take a look. Again, just trying to build something great here with your support, and I promise that I will always bring you the best content. I don't know if you like a good story. I don't know much about nothing, but I can tell you a good story. And the idea that it's all true and it's all a life experience, I think, even adds that fresh flavor that we're not getting today. And it's not reality TV, guys. It's real life. And with that said, I'm gonna sign off. And just want to say that it was Michael Keaton in Batman. I know that I messed that up earlier where I couldn't think of his name, but it just came to me. It was Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and that was it. You know what? It was pretty good. It was pretty good Batman, man. The first one. And then he started getting into the other ones, and it got all stupid, and I don't know. Just that first one there I thought it was fantastic, and Prince wrote the music for it. Rest in peace, Prince. You were a musical genius. And speaking of Prince, I wonder what happened to all his money. Right? He had like some ridiculous amount of recordings in a vault in his house, and I think he had a half sister or somebody that's getting some cash, but that's $1 bazillion that's going somewhere. Somebody's getting that, and I know it ain't going to be me. But if somebody knows where that money's going, let me know, because I'm real curious. So once again, everybody, I really, really thank you. We're going on a full hour here on this first episode, and I really don't want to go too much further because I don't want to lose anybody. So do me a favor, guys. Please hit us on the social media sites. Please go visit the website. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell us what you think. And again, I know it's episode 1, but if there's any input and anybody wants to get involved and maybe consider coming in, sitting down, I got 2 mics. You're more than welcome to. So hit me up on social media. Hit me everywhere. That's easy. And share your thoughts and ideas. And we will talk soon. And remember, guys, all roads lead here.